Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar hosted by Seva International. This webinar is conducted under our National Initiative SELF program. SELF stands for sleep, exercise, living in present, and food and diet. The program encompasses all the aspects of making a human being happy self. We have done few webinars before emphasizing on the importance of sound sleep, efficient exercise, and today we couldn't have found a better shloka to introduce today's topic. The shloka goes like this: Gate shoko na kartavyo bhavishyam naiva chintayet vartamanena kalena vartayanti vichakshanaha. The meaning of the shloka goes like this: the past is gone. You can do nothing about it but to learn from it. A grieving period is psychologically understood, but prolonged grieving about the past might take you to various degrees of worrying, missing, depression, to a stage when you can't even function normally. No one can change the past, but definitely can learn from it. The second portion of the shloka is the future is not yet here. So we can do what can you do worrying about it? What you do is only the present. What you can do for the future is to prepare for it. The wise resides in the present, focuses in the present where actions are performed. Sure, they create the vision for the future, strive to make it better, but not just unrealistically dreaming for the future or grieving for the past. This is a perfect segue to deep dive into our topic. I call upon Madhavji to give us information about SELF program and introduce our speaker today. Over to Madhavji.
Thank you, Shwetaji, for the wonderful introduction. It's my distinct pleasure of introducing our guest today. But before I do that, I just want to go through a few housekeeping items here. This is an educational event. This is not meant to be a personalized advice regarding your health or medical advice. It's not a substitute for any clinical attention that you may need from a qualified health professional. While we will discuss generally recommended best practices during the event, each and every individual's health conditions and specifics vary. So neither Seva USA nor the panelists can be held liable for any specific health-related concerns. This is an open event. This is a public event. So any questions or comments you submit are in the public domain. So as you're joining on the Facebook Live, as we go through the event today, please start submitting your questions or comments in the Facebook chat, and we will be monitoring that. Just a brief word about the SELF program. As Shwetaji said, SELF is a program we launched early part of this year, and we went through a pilot program in Atlanta, and recently we launched it through Seva International. And SELF stands for sleep, exercise, living in the present, and food and nutrition. The goal of SELF is to promote a balanced lifestyle and help improve physical and emotional well-being of the community members. I have a URL here, so please do visit sevausa.org/self to learn about more. We host a lot of local events such as biking, hiking, running events, etc. And you can get personalized coaching as well. The program is being administered by Seva International. Seva International, for those of you who don't know, specializes in disaster relief and rehab. And some of the recent work by Seva International includes, during the COVID times, supporting with the PPE distribution, providing access to healthcare, providing access to food, and organizing community food drives and blood drives. So I am absolutely thrilled now to introduce our speaker for today, and that is Yogashri Professor N.V. Raghuram. He's the founding chairman and spiritual guide to Yoga Bharati. Yoga Bharati promotes the yoga techniques and application of yoga in real life through academic and research programs. He's a professor of yoga philosophy in Swami Vivekananda Yoga Research Foundation, Bangalore. He's trained under some of the most renowned exponents of yoga, such as Professor Satyanarayana Shastri, and has been practicing yoga since early childhood. He's also instrumental in introducing yoga therapy in neurological clinics in Germany, and also starting yoga therapy in hospitals in Italy, Turkey, and China as well. He has traveled across more than 50 different countries in Asia, Europe, and America, giving discourses on stress reduction programs and hosting corporate training programs. With no further delay, I'd like to hand it over to Professor Anvi Raghuram so he can go through the presentation for today. Raghuramji, over to you.
Namaste Madhavji, thank you so much for this opportunity that you've given me under the SELF program and introduced by Seva International. Very happy with this idea, and particularly the way that it is introduced by Shwetaji with that mantra shloka. That's really very giving the gist of the whole thing about today's idea. So that means to say living in the present is not just only the COVID intervention for us, it's a lifestyle that we were thinking of. In our culture itself, it is a part of it. So therefore, basically, there are so many things that are important in this understanding of this living in the present lifestyle kind of a thing. Actually, truly speaking, living means being in the present. Being in the past is worrying, being in the future is basically dreaming, but living in the present is basically the living. And this is what philosophically many places it has been said to us, especially during this particular time, COVID period, pandemic time. It is not just only at one particular place, it's global. So therefore, that this seemed to be this idea that is given by the Indian culture for a global solution for this pandemic problem. So therefore, a few ideas that let me share with this, why this becomes so important at the global level on this particular pandemic time. Let me present my slides to you, presentation, so that it will make it clear. Especially what happened today, when you look at around with the situation today, there is so much of a fear that is involved in the people. In fact, a similar fear that I've seen when, particularly in the Americans, when they had, 9/11 thing that happened. 6 months later, I met one American in Germany, and then she came to me after my workshop and she said, "Last night is the first night that I really slept." I said, "Why?" Because ever since that 9/11 happened in America, I was there in New York at that day, and then I lost my sleep. And today I could really come out of that stress and the tension that was involved in that. So that was the time when America had a shocking kind of an incident. But today, it is a world over that we have this problem of pandemic that is there. Second thing is that immediately this COVID-19 has brought about total isolation. That means you can't go out of the house, and then you can't go to the shopping. Everything has to come to the doorstep. So it's like completely that you are insulated from all over. That is a kind of thing. And this lifestyle, which we never expected, we have to make so many changes. You can't go to the office, you can't go to any kind of entertainment, nothing like that. More important thing is, once you are glued to the television at home, and what you hear from the television, or you open up the phone, immediate message is a message from the press and media, particularly giving the statistics, how many people cases, how many found, how many dead, how many this. It's not one day or 2 day. This is going on for almost like 7, 8 months and then 1 year. So it looks like that we are under siege by some other planet. All that we used to see that kind of a thing in the movies, that some aliens come from different planet and all that, but it looks like that we are in that kind of a situation. And in our lifetime, we would never thought that we could see something like that. So, and then added to all those things, the financial pressure that we have, and the statistics that we hear, the detail that we hear. Any country, anybody is panicking. Like yesterday, I was talking to somebody in Peru, and that lady says that if I really develop this corona or whatever it is, the amount of financial pressure that is there, I can't believe it that I can cope up with that. So the same process, same problem is there in India also, that once you get corona and then being hospitalized, the kind of financial pressure that you have is something which is unbelievable. No opportunity for travels, etc. Life is under duress and no end to the tunnel. It never looks like to be there is an end to the ordeal that we are facing. So all these things make us feel that what is this that we are facing today with the help of this corona. So actually, it is at this point of time really that we need to sit back and look at what we are and what is that our scriptures talk about it and what is the way that we have benefit we take the life in the way. That's what we need to look at it. One thing very clearly that Indian philosophy says about the stress due to the anxiety. One of the many important things about the stress due to anxiety, there are three things that are there. One is called as that you are focused on that, and second thing is that you are fast speed, and third important aspect of the stress due to anxiety is negativity. Whenever there is an anxiety entered into us, the anxiety is very sight is in the form of negativity. So therefore, basically what yoga says is that you need to look at the things in a positive way. And this is what we always say every day. We keep saying that in the mantra, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Look at everything in a positive way. And when you try to look at in a positive way, and the living in the present and today's condition, and that you see, there are so many positive things which we have not noticed yet. In fact, one of the beautiful positive thing that I just look at is that in there was a picture, a photograph from Haryana. Somebody has given the photograph of Himalayas. He said that I never could look at from home the Himalayan mountains, whereas because of the COVID condition, absolutely there are no vehicles, no pollution, no nothing going on. I could see from my home the peaks of Himalayas. And that picture was so extraordinarily excellent. And that is the way that we can look at it positively. And there are several positive things that are there in the living. One is that this is an opportunity where we live with the family. The children are there, parents are there, everybody is working home, everybody is eating homely food, everybody is looking at each other at least once or twice a day. Many times, what happens is by the time the parents come back home from the offices, the children are asleep, or maybe the parents are busy with the night calls, this and that. Whereas today, that we are living with the family, it's a very great opportunity. Another greater thing about this is that there is so much of thrust on the hygiene. Particularly, I say in India that Modi had, Prime Minister Modi had so much emphasized on Swachh Bharat, and all those things. And now when the COVID has come, look at the way that people, they naturally they wash their hands, they wash their feet, and they uh, throw the um, dress into the washing, and all these things are happening. I suddenly wonder that what a wonderful gift that we have got from the COVID, that we have a thrust on hygiene. And another thing is that we are at home and then you can't eat outside, or even if you get the food from outside, it's a be certified, freshly cooked food. So look at the way that we are provided with. And there is another very important aspect is that a disciplined lifestyle. Yoga has always been saying that abhyasa vairagya, that means to say discipline is something which is very important, and vairagya is something non-attachment. Now, you don't go out anywhere, you don't go to the shopping, you don't go to eating outside. That's what is vairagya. And the disciplined lifestyle. And both these things are gift of COVID, an opportunity to pay more attention to the life. I've seen so many houses in India now because that they're at home, they try to look at the things which are there around and then try to see that what better that they can do at home to see that the things are much looking much better. And also it is an opportunity that is to understand each other much better. We are not using it. In fact, the other day also in the news, it says that ever since COVID came, people are at home. There are a lot of family uh, fightings that is going on. No, actually, if we properly understand it, there's a time to understand each other, look for each other in a better way. And most important thing is that the economic lifestyle. So you don't spend much, you don't unnecessarily go into these things, and then fossil fuel is not wasted. So many things which are in a positive way that you can see under the present conditions. We can actually make good of these things. And another thing is that less pollution. This is what I said in the beginning. A realization for a minimalistic lifestyle. Yes, this is another a big move that's going on all over the world to develop to adapt a minimalistic lifestyle. Some people are adopting it voluntarily, but then today, because of the COVID, it's almost like many more people are realizing the importance of this minimalistic lifestyle and utility of technology for exploration. All these webinar meetings, Zoom, all kinds of things, connecting people from all over the world. It's happening so much more. It's almost like about 500% increase in all this kind of an activity all over the globe. And now with this COVID, we have accepted newer lifestyle. Option is ours to live in the present, either by constantly cursing or seeing negativity, or seeing the positive, or seeing and living with negative actually is not living in the present. I can keep on cursing, I can keep on saying that negative about these things, and then keep myself getting into depression and people around me into depression and then anxiety moods. But I can also look at the things in a positive way and develop in a positive direction. And this is what basically the scriptures talk about it, saying that Sarve Bhadrani Pashan. Look at everything around positively. When you look at another thing is that a child looks at the world in a positive way. It is only the old man looks at the world in a negative way. So we become like a children again, full of enthusiasm in the life when you start becoming positive in your lifestyle. Therefore, there's a need of the hour. And one thing that we should be very clear in our mind is that there are medical experts, there are researchers who are all over the world very frantically working on this problem of COVID-19. In fact, every country is racing towards that, whether it is small or a big country, they're trying to see that what are the solutions that we make it. And not only that, they're passing on the solutions right away to the people. Like the moment that we knew that it is necessary for isolation, immediately look at the way that how government jumped into the activity, saying that whether it is banks or the shopping centers and all that, they have marked isolated people that you have to be only here. That and with that we have easily adapted the whole thing. So therefore, experts are giving us the guidelines. Believe in them, follow their instructions. It's all. You see, I always keep saying that look, I'm not a medical doctor, but my wife is a medical doctor. Somebody asked me, how is your this, how is that? I said, look, my wife is educated, it's her problem, not my problem. So that means basically that you can be free from all those things psychologically. Unnecessarily, what happens is that we are sitting in the passenger seat, and the driver is driving the car, but we behave as if we are driving the car. We take the burden of driving on us. No, leave it alone. Just believe in them and follow their instructions. Not to panic, but to accept the change of lifestyle. In the changing lifestyle, what are the things that you can make to see that your life is comfortable? use media for better knowledge. Yes, media bombards all kinds of knowledge, COVID conditions, and then how many deaths, this and that. Yes, you heard, and that's what is going on. Once you heard it, then don't unnecessarily try to magnify the whole project. This is what happens, mountain of a molehill. It has not, once you have taken care of the whole situation, once you have isolated yourself, don't worry about it. COVID is not going to uh, jump on you from nowhere. You do not follow the rules and regulations and situations, then you get into the idea. But another thing is that we have enough time at home, and healthcare activities like yoga, exercise, lifestyle. How many videos have come, how many instructions have come on the internet to show that even in the household that you can just make yourself life active, and all kinds of things can be possible in this particular COVID conditions or this situation that is there. Following yoga, there's another very important aspect of it, which I would like to spend a couple of minutes to make us let us try to understand that aspect of it. And that is, um, of all the various activities that are there in the healthcare program, the most advanced activity today is this yoga. That's the reason why yoga has been adapted all over the world. And you see the number of situations on the yoga front that is there on the internet is unbelievable. And that's what is the kind of growth that has taken place. What are the advantages that you get in terms of when you think of yoga? First thing is that let me tell you that, let me go back a little bit into the idea called as, whenever we are doing normally any activity, look at yourself. The degree of awareness that you have is hardly 3 to 4%, sometimes 5%, and not more than that. You sit in the car and then you are driving. Observe yourself when you are driving to see that your awareness there in the driving is only 4 to 5%. Mind is wandering here and there, looking at something. Gear is changed, and then uh, brakes are operated, this and that. Everything happens so robotic way. You are not present in that at all. It's all happening by itself. Suddenly something comes in the way that, and then you become an alert. The moment that you become alert, and then immediately you apply, and then you curse that fellow. Why did he come in the way, and this and that, and then once again you start going. Once it so happened that I was in USA, and one medical doctors, and he's very busy person. Medical people are very busy persons, and then he came home, picked me up and said, come on, we'll go to the yoga center evening. And then talking to me, he started saying that, look, there's the only opportunity that I can talk with you. Otherwise, I'm busy with my work and all that. While talking, he was driving, and after about half an hour driving, he just stopped his car. I said, what happened? He said, where did we come? I said, where did we come? We are supposed to go to the yoga center. I saw that it was his office. I said, why did you bring me to your office? He said, no, car brought me. Many times what happens is that the car brings you, and you are under the leadership of car. That's what is the way that we do. A lot of activities we do without any awareness. And this is where yoga has a very great important role to play. And that's what is, whenever we are doing yoga, the instructions that are there in yoga is to see that how you do it for yourself. That means to say, the teacher will be giving instructions. Take a deep breath, breathe out, bend forward, touch the toes, breathe in as you get up. When he is giving all these instructions, who has to do it? We have to do it. That means to say, your awareness is almost like 70-80% in doing yoga practices. So therefore, while doing yoga, that you almost maintain about 70-80 to 90% of awareness. Normal course of time, whatever that is supposed to be about 3 to 4% awareness, with the help of yoga, when you are doing it, when you are, even for an hour you practice, for half an hour that you practice, you are practicing about 70-80% of awareness. On an average, in the day's life, your awareness is almost jumps to about 20 to 30%. And this awareness is a great tool. This is another name for living in the present, as being aware. And this is what Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Sthita Prajnasya. That means to say, be in the state of prajna, being in the state of awareness. That's what is the saying that we're supposed to do it. The practice of yoga is for the whole personality. And there's another very important aspect of it. We are not just only physical human being. We are not just only physical body, but we are at various personality level. And that's what Indian philosophy says. Very beautiful analysis is there. We are at the gross level, physical level, we are the body. But then behind that, we are life force, prana, mind, intellect. And deep inside, we have the spiritual personality, bliss. And yoga is not just only at the body level, but it is the whole personality level. Unfortunately, many times people have given yoga to be only physical body level, but then now today, the lot of understanding has developed from the scriptures. I said we practice at all these levels. And more important thing is deep inside, health is our own nature. And then going back to our nature is becoming going back to the health. And at the all these personality level, we have come away from our nature. This particular table gives us that. Our nature, which I've given in the fourth column, and that's where basically the remedy aspect of it I've given, which is supposed to be our own nature. At the body level, to be relaxed is our nature. At the prana level, to be slow is our nature. At the mind level, a calm state of mind is our own nature. Wisdom and the state of balance at the intellect emotion level. Deep inside at the bliss level, harmony was our nature. But as and when we were children, as a child is born, child has all these qualities naturally. Whereas we have come away from our nature, as we have grown up in the form of tension at the body level, speed, agitation, all these things are going away from our nature. Therefore, we have all these conditions of panic, conditions of sickness that are there. That is the definition of health. Swastha, being in the self is supposed to be health. Aswastha, sickness is being away from ourselves. So yoga is going back to yourself. So these are the two advantages that are there. A healthy lifestyle includes naturally the ideas of yoga. You practice yoga. Asanas at the body level, pranayama, meditation. There are other practices like jnana yoga and bhakti yoga. All these things will bring us back to our own nature. Therefore, deep inside, bliss, harmony is our nature. There's a very important aspect of it, and that is today in the world, what we require is this deep inner harmony. Once we have that harmony, give to the world the harmony outside. Given the conditions that are there in front of us, we can live, we can we can consciously try to live in this harmony. We don't have to fight with ourselves. Disharmony is basically one fighting with the other. Look at the nature. The roots and the soil, flowers and the foliage and the sky and a plant, they are in such wonderful harmony. Roots do not know what is happening in the sky, and the flowers do not know where their feed comes from, but then they are in such wonderful harmony. If you take an orange fruit, the bitter seed inside and the sweet fruit born together, grow to the fullness together. The seed will not disturb the fruit, fruit will not disturb the seed. They're in such wonderful harmony. When the orange can live in harmony, when a plant can live in harmony, and that harmony is their health, why not we have similar kind of condition within family itself? Today the family is living together, the children, parents, husband and wife, and everything should be in that harmony. When can that happen? When we have set up harmony within ourselves. The harmony between my body and mind, the harmony between my exertion and the sleep, the harmony between my hunger and eating. When I create this harmony within, then the whole world outside, I can give project this harmony to the world outside. This is what is the need of an hour. Once we do that, we are able to definitely cope up with any condition, because today it has happened this way and we find a solution does not mean that tomorrow another condition will not happen, third condition will. The life is full of only situations. It is not with the problems. It is how we look at it. If you look at it as problem, yes, it looks like problem. But when we look at it as a situation, then what happens is Every situation, we have a solution. Every situation, we have a idea to come out of it. That is the way when you look at it, that's what is the living in the present. Most important component of the self, sleep and then exercise. Exercise also therefore now includes yoga, because the other exercise may not have this component of awareness. Yoga has a very strong component of awareness, and then living in present, and also the food and exercise. So the food and diet, when you look at all these things, that this idea of yoga, the idea of yogic way of life permeates in all these factors that are thinking of in the form of self. That is why I always think of this when the first thing they said that about the self. I said, what a great contribution of COVID is to develop this idea of self, to see that how we can adapt this kind of a lifestyle where a lifestyle is full of being in the present, being in the present at the body level, prana, mind, intellect. When you are in the present, then there is a total harmony. It does not mean that we plan and scheme for the future. Do all those things. Plan and scheme. That's the work that you do. Past is there, you grow from the past, understand that. But finally, the living means being in the present. Therefore, let us try to adapt that kind of lifestyle. Life is a gift of God, and the beautiful living is what our making. It is in our hands how to make this life a beautiful living. You can keep on cursing life. We can't keep on cursing the environment, surroundings, and all that. But finally, you can't change all those things. You have to come out of it. You have to see, start, you are living. And then that making our living is something which is wonderful. Imagine that when we didn't have all these gadgets, etc., etc., all those things were not there. People were also living. They were all happy. The computers were not there. This communication was not there. But in spite of it, people were happy. With all those things also, people are happy today. And in the future, we will also be happy. Let us make our life as a wonderful living, beautiful living. And that's what is the contribution of the youth, the Seva International, the contribution of self, all our institutions together, put together, let's make the best of our life. So with these things, with this idea of living in the present, I will now leave the ground open for question answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Raghuramji, for a wonderful presentation. So as we get more questions from the audiences, I like to get started with asking a few questions. Even as I was listening to you talk, there are a few thoughts going through my mind. So I will bring on some questions, and then Shwetaji, feel free to jump in with any questions that you might have. And Raghuramji, you can stop sharing the presentation,
Yeah.
so we can get into the conversation.
It is that now share.
You can just click on stop sharing,
Okay.
and then
No.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So the question on my mind is, here I am sitting on Sunday evening here in Atlanta.
Yes.
My mind is already energized hearing you talk, but
Thank
part
you.
of my mind is already living in Monday, right? But looking ahead to tomorrow. So how do I pull my mind back to today and now at this moment? What practical advice would you have for me?
One very important aspect of this is that what I talked about, this awareness, is something which is an equipment which will bring you back to present here and now. Being now here is what is the idea of awareness that we do it. Just look at what are the things which are around you. I always give an idea to the people in my class that Sarve Bhadrani Pashyanta was talking about, looking at the positive. I said, before going to the night, every day, keep a diary and then write down what all the positive things happened that day. You write down at least about 5-10 items. If you write 5 items that you write, What happens is, in order to write that, whole day you keep your mind in the present, in the positive sense. What is around me positive? I can take it forward and go ahead. It really changed the psychology of the people that way. And you are thinking of only the past and all those things because somehow that you are apprehensive about future is you are apprehensive about what will happen tomorrow. It's an anxiety. It's a worry that is there. Uh, Yesterday only I was talking to somebody. He said that a situation happened to you because the simple thing is you can face the situation. That's why situation is in front of you. You have an ability to face it, and then you'll be able to do that. So once you have confidence in yourself, tomorrow I'll take care of it tomorrow. That's what a very beautiful uh, quotation from English that is there. Cross the river when you reach there. Don't worry about it.
That's wonderful. So in a way, I keep hearing the saying in English about count your blessings. So what you're saying is reflect on the blessings you received for the day and keep a log of them, right?
Right.
And reflect on them. The other question is, you talked about one of the positives out of COVID is being close to your family.
Yeah.
At the same time, I do agree with your observation. In fact, I was talking to one of the local nonprofits that does a lot of family counseling and so on. They did mention that with the times of COVID, the stress levels are higher and there are more domestic issues popping up.
Yeah.
Now, what you're recommending is in some sense changing the lifestyle, right? Even the self program is about changing your lifestyle. What advice would you have, especially when you're so closely surrounded by your family and sometimes not everybody is on the same page in wanting to make the lifestyle changes? So what practical advice would you have?
One of the most important aspects of the family is, if you look at it, the problem is not because of situations A, B, C. The problem is because of ego. What is, and your ego, nobody else can surrender. You can surrender. And surrendering, ego is all something which is born out of, which is nothing but what is external. You are what you are. You don't have to shine by all the things that are there outside. We do not realize the importance of how to make this minimum, make this ego minimum. It's not necessary that we need to keep it. In the Indian philosophy, there are two important things that are there about ego. In English, we have only one word called ego. In Sanskrit, we have two words, ahankara and asmita. Asmita is supposed to be a positive ego. Ahankara is a negative ego. Asmita is supposed to be which is helping, which is integrating, growing, developing, whereas ahankara always dissents you, always creates problem between two individuals. In the beginning, that when we came as a family together, we came together out of asmita. The father asmita was working with the children asmita, but now father ahankara is clashing with the children ahankara. That's what is the main problem.
Interesting. So really building an awareness and education around these aspects.
Right.
I think part of it is recognizing that there is an issue, and that all starts with education, is what you're saying.
Right. Another thing is that supermost of all these things that are there, and what physically we require this and that and all those things, uppermost of all those things is to see that how we can live in harmony. If we have that as the uppermost agenda in our life, then we work towards that.
Got it. I have a few other questions, but Shwetaji, feel free to jump in at any point in time as I keep going.
Sure. So I can go. I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So the question is, so with COVID, people are home, as we explained in the talk, that everybody is at home. One thing is that everybody is cooking a lot. That cooking or that food consists of different kinds of items, like especially consisting of sattva, Raja and Tama as well. Maybe more Raja and Tama, right? Depending on what people like.
Right.
So, would you explain us the interdependency or the correlation of this kind of food, Sattva, Raja, Tama, with living in present?
Yeah. The very important aspect of this sattva rajas tamas concept, if we can understand the concept, then it becomes easy. The concept is that the food that is supposed to do not become, that is something which does not become like a burden on you. As long as you eat, it gives its nourishment, and then it just leaves you alone. It's supposed to be sattvic food. Whereas Rajasic food is that food, you take it, but next few hours, the food is hanging on to you. I don't even have to give elaborate on that. Just to give simple experience, you can do it. Take a couple of extra mirch in your life, this chilies in your life. Next 4 hours, that your stomach will become crying. Okay, so that is supposed to be Rajasic food, and that food which slumps you into lack of awareness is supposed to be Tamasic food. It's not only the quality of food, it's the quantity of food and the frequency of food. All these things keep it into sattva, just tamas understanding, and then keep it only in the sattvic way. Just because that you are at home, just because the food is available, just because that everything is free for you, don't jump into all those things, because basically you the food is supposed to sustain you. It's not burden you. And either in the form of agitation or in the form of slumbering, it should not become it becomes should not become a burden for you. That is supposed to be sattvic food.
Great. I think we got an audience question here.
Yeah.
A lot of schooling that is happening these days is from home. So
Yeah.
there is an overload of screen time for the
Yeah.
children and the youth alike. So what advice would you have for the children and the youth of today on how to cope with the overload of the screen time?
Actually, yes, it's very important that the screen overloading of screen time, definitely it happened. One of the very important things about the uh, overloading of screen time on the, particularly when you look at the eyes, it has resulted into dry eyes.
Hmm.
That means to say, basically, in the normal course of time, when we see the objects, we don't see the pulsation of the object, whereas on the screen, it's continuously pulse that you are seeing. So, therefore, I would advise not only the people who are going through the screen, etc., etc., once in half an hour, you give just about a minute of break to the whole thing. Just close your eyes and then allow the lubricant to take place inside the eyes just for 1 minute, and then again open your eyes and continue the activity. There are two advantages of that. One is that the expectations also is something like this. Like somebody sent me an email yesterday, and half an hour later, somebody asked me saying that, Raghuramji, you have not yet seen email? It's important. Earlier, people used to write letter 15 days later that people would think, yes, the matter must have reached. What is the expectation that's going on? Therefore, what happens is that by giving this 1 minute break, not only for the eyes to lubricate, second thing is shut off your mind completely. Whatever that's going on in the mind, just let everything rest for that one moment. There's nothing that's going on. World will not stop. And then again pick up this idea. As I said, that we by five personality level that we have, it's not just sitting off only the eyes, but the whole body, mind, intellect complex is completely shut off for one moment and then picks up the next moment. This has got another advantage also, and that is, the stress is something which is a stress graph which is mounting up. Now, if you are giving a break every half an hour, that you just bring it down and then again bring it down. So overall compilation of stress will be reduced by that. This technique I always suggest in the stress management programs.
Interesting. That's very interesting. And So I'm taking few notes here in terms of some of the things that I could implement
Yeah.
after we leave the webinar today. Just a follow-up to something you said in your response triggered this thought. So our relationship with electronic media these days is that you mentioned about somebody within 30 minutes they were expecting a response.
Yeah.
We're used to instant gratification. We're used to
Right.
seeing likes and things like comments on Facebook posts. So what should be our relationship with electronics, and how does that intersect with living in the present?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Uh, Philosophically speaking, there are two things. One is called as, say, what is Shreyas, what is Preyas. That means what I like and what is good for me. I should keep these two columns very clearly. This is Shreyas for me. This is Preyas for me. This is what I like. This is what is good for me. I can immediately discriminate these things. Anything that is there on the screen, I said, so let me take it in such a way. It's good for me. Let me go for it. If it is not, then let me not unnecessarily indulge in this kind of a thing. This is very important aspect that we need to do. Second thing is that this electronic media has done so much wonders. Like for example, that if you really look into wanting to get some nice information, that there is flood of information, flood of people who are posting these things that are there. You can always get that kind of a thing, information for that. So this is something which we need to do it. And another thing is that as much as possible, try to be together. But in spite of the fact that we are hooked onto our own laptop or iPads and phone, but let us sit together and then look into all those things. So earphones are there and then we talk, but at the same time, we do not make the social distance between us in the family. That will be really of a great help.
Sure. And Shwetaji, you have a question? Go for it.
Yeah. So I think on the similar lines, Raghuramji, you gave very fantastic examples of harmony, right? You gave the
Yeah,
example of orange fruit and you gave the example of flower, which were spot on. So based on that, I have my question is twofold. So
yeah,
one is that right now, so many families, right? What as Madhavji said that we are online all the time.
yeah,
After our online time is done, either family is watching movie together, or let's say going for a walk together, or let's say maybe doing a yoga together. So the
yeah,
first question is that should we on a regular cadence, meaning every day or every other day, should we decide as a family one activity which we definitely follow?
yeah,
And the second question I have on the similar lines, that we have talked about it here, that there are a lot of quarrels or fightings going on in the family. So,
yeah,
do you recommend a open dialogue, between the family members to achieve that harmony portion? There can be,
yeah.
the different age groups in the family, so people will understand or not understand. But when the open dialogue is there, might help. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Even otherwise, also, I always used to say that in the family, let us keep one meal as a meal together. And lunch, it's not possible because so many people. Dinner, at least we will get together and make it a point to see that at dinner we'll eat together. This is one aspect of it. So that is one activity that when we do it, and everybody is together. And then what you said is very right, that everybody is given importance to speak about whatever that they have in their mind when they are together, and it's not about complaint about the others. It should be about what is that he has learned, what is that she has grown, she has understood, she has worked together. In fact, we always do that in our dinner time uh, at our place, where we all sit together at dinner. After the dinner, we try to raise one issue, second issue, something like that, where it brings about a wisdom from everybody. And many times what happens is this grows for this goes on for about an hour together because everybody is enjoying that. And many times people say that we miss that aspect of it more than the dinner aspect of it. That is the kind of thing. And the same thing I used to adapt in my office also while I was working as an engineer. Early morning, everybody signs up at the front desk and then come to the workplace. I said, before going to the workplace, let's get together and then talk of something which is nothing to do with the shop, nothing to do with the work or anything like that. Let's just talk about what are the positive things that you have found today. And about half an hour we would spend, then go to the work. I said, I don't mind you delaying your work by half an hour, but at least this is something which keeps your energies in a positive way. And they always used to do that. And my office, the other groups are jealous of us because that we were always so pleasant and happy because of that one small little activity we used to do that.
So I think we got a question from the audience.
Right.
What is the difference between Manomaya and Vijnanamaya Kosha?
Yeah, this, we have the senses. All the five senses are there, and then internal senses are also there, Manasu, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. Now, what happens is that somebody, a center which has to coordinate all these activities, and that center which coordinates all these activity, we call it as Manas, because it's like a bank, everything comes into that. Like, for example, I hear a sound comes from the auditory center, and then I look at that. That means the message from the mind goes to eyes, go and see that. So this is what is the mind. Intellect is something which says that this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, this is what is the analysis. So this is all what intellect does. Vijnanamaya Kosha is the one which tries to do that analysis portion of it, and then right and wrong, good and bad, and all that. Mind is the thing which coordinating aspect of it, which is Manomaya Kosha. And man has this ability to coordinate all these things from deep inside in the memory and all those things. That's why it is mind. It is man is supposed to be one who can do the manana. Mananamiti manushyaha. That's how it has come to.
Great. Raghuramji, I think we are approaching almost end of our time here, but Shwetaji, do you have any other questions for Raghuramji here?
Yeah, see, we have one question from audience. I think, yeah. So the question is that most of the talk based on the assumptions that people live together with the family. There are a lot of seniors who are away from children, single parents, etc. Can you address that for that population, please?
Oh yes, very very important point that is there about. Uh, one thing is the physical distance from the seniors. That's really a big burden on them, and it's very difficult for them to take it. It's more difficult for seniors to take it than the youngsters. So therefore, it is added responsibility on the youngsters, younger generation of the people, to give them something which is very positive all the time, saying that yes, we are here. These days the videos are there, you see them, you show everybody to them. You see, we don't realize that how important it is for them to literally see the picture of their grandchildren, grand this thing, and you have brought a new, say something gadget at home. They like to see that. You see, there is nothing which is frivolous. You say that something which is very important. How is your health? Medicines are you taking on? And that they are taking. Don't bother about all those things. Everybody talks about that. But talk about these small little simple things, that you brought a grinder in the house. You show them that you have a nice grinder. Your grandmother would love that kind of a thing. So these are the things that what are supposed to be trivial pleasures. We should be able to give them that trivial pleasures. They feel that, when you share those things with them, they feel that they are part of your home. They're really totally part of your home. Make them feel that way. That's very important. In fact, in here there is one old age home that was there where it's a palliative care. That means to say people are there for the last days of life, and they were waiting for death. That's why it is called as palliative care. The people who come to say them, healthcare people, And these people, they had additional agony that, people take care of us, we can't do anything. And then I gave them suggestion that I give you 2, 3 suggestions which you follow. One thing is, first thing, when healthcare people come to you in the morning and they ask you, how are you doing? Good morning, how are you doing? And then immediately you jump in saying that, oh, last night I didn't have sleep. Did you sleep well? I didn't have sleep. The blood sources are there, this and that. You jump in complaining about that. Never do that. As soon as first thing that they come saying that I'm doing wonderful, fine, I slept well, and then the topic ends there immediately. Now you have a chance to ask them, so how is your child? How is your boy who went to the school? So you ask them about these things. Like that, if everybody does that, you remember about that child there and all, they feel happy. So they go around for the next about half an hour, they do this. After that, work starts. Otherwise, if you start complaining, they start feeling that, okay, my work started. So there is a positive way to look at these things, and that is very important. For the senior people, we must get, you see, there is another very important aspect is that whatever you say, their perception is very strong. Response may not be strong. We don't realize that. We think that perception is not strong. We think that because they are not responding, that means perception is not there. Children are also like that. We think that they are not perceiving because that they don't respond to us.
Yeah.
No, the perception is 100 times greater than the response. Just
That's
about a
very,
week ago, there was
yeah.
one lady, we went to her, and then we were talking in front of her. She was in a half coma state and all that, and said that, you see, don't worry about morning coffee and all those things. Suddenly she became alert. Don't miss my morning coffee.
Very quite a fascinating discussion, Raghuramji, overall, and really engaging in this. Talking about simple things in life is something that is extremely important too. Thanks for reinforcing that, and really appreciate your time today. But I like to send it over to Srikantji for some finishing thoughts here.
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah, Shrikant ji.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Raghuramji.
Raghuramji. Thank you, Madhavji. And thank you, Swetaji. It was a wonderful discussion here. Um, I've learned a lot personally. And one thing I see is like, what you said about living in the present. It is our choice whether we move, whether we pick the negative thing, fear, the isolation, the anxiety, the worry, or we live, take the positive things with the COVID that has come, whether it is living with the family, whether it is like, living in a cleaner world, whether we, as you said, like, we are connecting better, 500% now. I mean, better through the use of technology. So it is up to us what we take. And you have really, we have learned a lot about like how we are moving from the gross level of like, our living, taking care of our food and other things, to our inner peace, from the grosser level of like, worry and anxiety to the inner harmony and peace. So, and you have given a very good examples, and I've learned a lot. As you said, something that sticks in my mind is perception. Everybody has to keep in mind that perception is stronger than the response. We just, because somebody is quiet, we just cannot ignore them or ignore her. I really love it, and thank you very much for your time. And we want to end this presentation with the Shanti Mantra. Shweta ji, if you want to do the Shanti Mantra, I would love it. And so we'll, yeah.
Absolutely. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashchid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. धन्यवाद.